Okay, we're going to go over how armor-piercing shells work in World of Warships as best as I can and as concise as I can. And in World of Warships, there's 4 different calculations that the game makes between the armor-piercing shells and the armor plate that the armor-piercing shell is hitting. I will go over the second, third, and fourth first, as the first one will be easier to understand and explain after the second, third, and fourth are talked about. The second calculation is angle of impact. In short, default AP shells have a 100% chance to ricochet when hitting an armor plate at an angle between 0 and 30 degrees. In this case, as you can see here in this example, our ship, enemy ship, if he's facing dead onto us, he is at 0 degrees. If he slightly angles, even if it's under 30 degrees, our AP will be shot at him and bounce off. It will not do any damage. If he is angled between 0 and 45, sorry, between 30 and 45 degrees, there is a chance that the shell will ricochet. There is a chance that the shell will penetrate. From 45 to 90 degrees, the shell is guaranteed to not ricochet. So, between 0 and 30 degrees, there's a 100% chance for the AP shell to ricochet. From 30 to 45 degrees, there's a decreasing chance of ricochet. From 45 to 90 degrees, there is a 0% chance to ricochet. Just because it does not ricochet doesn't mean it will do damage. That's where the third calculation comes in. If the shell would not ricochet, the game then checks the armor penetration value of the AP shell and compares it to the armor thickness of the plate that it is hitting. If the penetration value of the shell is greater than the armor plating, it will punch into the armor. If it is not, if the AP penetration value is not greater than the armor plating, it will get a non-pin and it will not do any damage. If the shell does penetrate the armor, the fourth calculation begins. When the shell penetrates the armor, it starts a fuse timer. That fuse timer will cause the shell to explode after a set duration of time. If the shell passes through the ship before the fuse timer ends, the shell will pass through the ship, not explode in the ship, and you will get an overpenetration. Overpins do 10% of the maximum AP alpha damage. If the fuse timer does expire before the shell passes through the ship, then the shell will explode inside the ship and do damage. There is a single exception to that, and that is torpedo protection. Torpedo belts do not have any health attached to them. Side platings, they have health. Nose, bow, and stern, like bow and stern armor, they have health. Citadel armor, upper belt, superstructure, all of those have health points attributed to that section of armor. Torpedo protection armor does not. So it is possible to hit torpedo protection belt and penetrate, but the shell to explode before penetrating into the citadel armor. That will result in in a hit called torpedo protection hit. Those are the second, third, and fourth calculations. The first calculation is called overmatch. Overmatch compares the gun caliber to the armor plating that you are hitting. Every gun in the game, every ship in the game has an overmatch threshold. To find that threshold, you take the gun caliber, you divide it by 14.3, and what number you get, you round down. As an example, 406 millimeter guns divided by 14.3 is 28.39. Let's do this here real quick. 14.3, sorry, 406 divided by 14.3, 28.39. You round it down to the nearest whole number, so 28. 406 caliber guns overmatch 28 millimeters of armor. That means that if 406, if a 406 caliber AP shell hits an angled plate that is less than or equal to 28 millimeters, it will penetrate regardless of angle. There is no chance to ricochet a 406 millimeter round using a 28 millimeter armor plate. You cannot ricochet. You will never ricochet. That is called overmatch. If it's a 29 millimeter plate or higher, it will have a chance to ricochet. This can be applied to every ship in the game. You take the ship's gun caliber divided by 14.3. Whatever whole number you get when rounding down is the armor threshold that you can overmatch. That is the 4 calculations of armor piercing. High explosive and sap are the other 2 shell types. High explosive is pretty straightforward. If the HE pin value is equal to or greater than the armor plate that you are hitting, you will do damage. If the HE pin value is less than the armor you are hitting, it will not do damage. A 30 millimeter, a HE shell or high explosive shell with 30 millimeters of penetration cannot do damage to a plate or armor that is 32 millimeters thick. The angle of impact never matters on high explosive, and high explosive has a chance to set fires on the portion of the ship that the shell lands on. By default, there is a fire chance on the bow, the stern, and 2 in the middle. With the exception of battleships that take Fire Prevention Expert as a commander skill, which reduces the number of center fires from 2 down to 1. You cannot set a superstructure fire by shooting the nose or the bow. Does not work like that. The other shell type is semi-armor piercing. It has improved ricochet angles, so it's less likely to penetrate, or it's less likely to ricochet. It can never overpin. If it hits and does damage, it's exploding. There's no chance for it to pass through the ship. It can overmatch, just like armor piercing can. It cannot start fires. That's the 3 different shell types and how they act. I will copy and paste this in the description. I hope this... I don't have gameplay. I find it easier to discuss it in a shorter length of time by simply typing it out and talking it out. Y'all enjoy. God bless.